appears you got here just in the nick of time. What does that make us?
Big damn heroes, sir.
Ain't we just?
Well, yet another geocentrist has shown up, claiming that my previous videos were flawed because I introduced the ether, which does not exist. In comments, he's claiming that I've used this concept to disprove geocentrism, which I apparently can't do because I don't believe the ether exists in the first place. Clearly, he doesn't understand that I'm simply refuting Bowden and Bue's own claim that the ether exists and it's central to their model. Since this model is not logically consistent, the question of the ether's existence has no bearing on the failure of the model. In other words, the model fails whether the ether exists or not. It's quite apparent that this individual simply doesn't understand the basic physics at work here. This is high school level physics. Most of the physics experts on YouTube wouldn't even consider going into this subject because it's simply too far below their level. But since I'm a blue-collar physics person, I don't have any problem getting my hands dirty in the shallow end of the gene pool. Let's start with this first mistake, calling it a Coriolis force. That term really isn't accurate. Coriolis effect is more correct. The Coriolis force is what physicists call a pseudo-force. It's not really a force at all. It's a direct consequence of the conservation of momentum coupled with the rotation of a spherical Earth. The commentator has failed to grasp this difference, and it is important. You see, in Bowden's fantasy, he claims that the Earth is not rotating. Yet, the undeniable fact is that the Coriolis effect is demonstrably at work here. Bowden therefore has to introduce two new active forces to explain this discrepancy. The first is an ether, and the second is the gravitational pull of other objects rotating around the Earth. But consider the simple example of Foucault's pendulum installed at the North Pole right beside of a plumb bob. A pendulum works because it maintains rigidity in space. It oscillates in the same direction. However, because the Earth rotates, in our frame of reference, it appears to precess in a circle once every 24 hours. From the pendulum's frame of reference, it continues to oscillate in the same direction and the world seems to revolve around it. In Bowden's model, the Earth does not rotate. Therefore, an active force must be introduced to explain what we see. Whether it's an ether or gravity makes little difference because neither one explains what we see accurately. An active force, causing the pendulum to precess in a circle once every 24 hours, would also have to act on the plumb bob hanging next to it. We should see some sort of force being applied to the plumb bob hanging there, but we do not. Therefore, this otherwise universal force acts selectively, which contradicts everything we understand about the physical laws. You don't have to go far before any geostationary model of the universe begins to contradict itself in this way. For example, if you try to use the stars to explain the effects of near the Earth's surface, then you have to explain how the force can skip over satellites in orbit, which contradicts every observation of how gravity works. At this point, Occam's razor can go to work. On one hand, we have a single set of physical laws that can uniformly explain all of the observed phenomena on both the Earth and the other planets of the solar system. Or we can have Bowden's fantasy, which will require dozens of separate explanations and laws of physics for each individual phenomena. This theory fails no matter how you look at it. It demonstrably does not match the universe we live in, and it is falsifiable and therefore pwned.
If I'm your mission, Shepard, best give it up. You're welcome on my boat. God ain't.